Stan Jabalisco coming at you from the Nerd Cave with just a little demonstration of how my Nerd Cave Electronics emergency backup power system works. Got everything fired up down here pretty much. The video production computer, the ham radio computer, the transceiver, the IC746 Pro, little audio amplifier there for surround sound speakers, everything pretty much fired up. Now I'd like to show you what I will do in the event of a power failure. All of these overhead lights up here are connected to an uninterruptible power supply, as are all of the electronics. And there is the beast right down there where you see that little green light, and it's backed up with a couple of automotive batteries, so it'll last for quite a while. And there is my power transfer system, and this is what I'd like to show you in particular. Now suppose that we have a power failure. Now the best way that I can think of to do that, I've got this uninterruptible power supply connected into a particular circuit that leads to, of course, a particular circuit breaker upstairs. I'm now leading you up to that breaker box, and I don't know how well you can see those breakers behind all this foliage there. I've tried my best to make a directory of what it's number, I believe it's number 13, which would be, well, I don't know, let's see, yeah, number 13, third from the bottom. So let's go, doesn't look like a 13, just switched it off. You can hear that uninterruptible power supply warning me that it's no longer getting AC utility power. And this is what would happen if I were down here in the Nerd Cave and there were a power failure. I'd hardly even know it, because all the lights are connected up to this uninterruptible power supply, but I would know it because of that light now, which is turned orange, and those beeps. Now this is a lot of stuff connected up to that one little thing, that one little power supply, but those automotive batteries will keep it going for quite a while, at least 7 or 8 minutes. I would shut down most of the computers and things like that. There's my power transfer scheme. Now notice at the top that surge protector, or as that's what they call them, surge protectors. It's really a transient suppressor. What I will do in the event of a power failure, try to get this iPad manipulated so I can show you what I would do. First thing I would do is turn off this switch, even though there's no power going to it yet, because when power comes back on, I don't want to be inserting a plug into a live outlet. I unplug the uninterruptible power supply leading to all of the electronics and everything, and plug it in to the generator box. Now this generator box has it's just identical to the other box, and I switched that on. Now the generator is already fired up, trust me on this. I'd have to go fire it up, but it only takes about as long as I've been yammering here to do that. That generator is outside. Then I turn that on. You hear a little click, and that light back there on the uninterruptible power supply is once again on green, indicating it's getting AC utility power. And notice that all of the electronics, all of the Nerd Cave electronics is fired up, all of the lights, they all ran completely uninterrupted. Now there is one more thing that I will do. Now the generator will have been fired up. I'm going to take you outside and hopefully we won't get a whiteout situation. If we do, see, that's one thing this iPad isn't terribly good at, is adjusting to widely variable light conditions. So I'm going to try and keep it from getting overexposed here. There's your generator. Kind of hard to see that, isn't it? But there's a switch down there called Eco Throttle. Eco Throttle. Now it's running full bore right now, and I would always run it full bore until it was connected to the electronics, and then I hit that little Eco Throttle switch. The generator slows down to only the speed that it needs to run in order to provide the power that it's called upon at any moment to provide. That generator has, there's some oil for the generator, by the way. Change the oil every 3 months. I test it twice a month. Once on the 4th of the month, which is today, in case you haven't noticed. And once on the 19th of each month. That keeps the fuel from gelling up and all of that kind of bad stuff that can happen. Now, this thing will only, the generator only has to run as hard as it has to run in order to provide power to its own little inverter in there. And that little inverter produces a nice clean sine wave at a constant frequency of 60 Hertz, which is good enough to run all of these sensitive electronics. A lot of generators have sine waves that are not good enough for that, but the Honda EU 2000i is good enough for that. Notice the weather radar here. I just noticed this. I'm located in Leeds, South Dakota, which is just about midway between Sturgis and Newcastle. There are some showers moving in this direction. I would have to check the lightning display, the lightning map, to see whether or not there's lightning there. We're tuned to 14.070. That's the phase shift keying part of the 20-meter amateur radio band. And there's the decoder for the phase shift keying signals, and also allows me to encode them and transmit them. Everything's hooked up. Everything's ready to go. I'm on emergency power right now. I'm not going to belabor you too much with what I would do in the event of... Well, yes, I will show you what I will do if power comes back on. Let's just go upstairs and turn it back on. Now, so much of the lights and everything here are powered by the generator and the uninterruptible power supply that I might never know when power came back on, except I think there are a couple of lights down there that are not powered by AC, and so I would see them flicker back on. I'll just turn that breaker back on here. So now presumably we've got AC power once again, and I would see, for example, this overhead light up there come back on. And I believe a couple of the overhead lights in the cave would come back on. W1GV are my call letters. I got them in Connecticut in 1977 when I worked at the American Radio Relay League headquarters. So now everything's back on. So here's what I would do in that case. This is the sequence of events. Now notice that there's complete separation between the generator and the utility. Absolutely no backfeed. I would turn this switch off. You don't want to unplug. A plug from a live outlet can produce a surge, even if you do it from a surge suppressor. unplug that, plug it back into the AC. Well, that one's kind of recalcitrant. Plug it back in there. Switch is not yet on. Now it's on. Now we're back on AC power. At that point, I could turn the generator back. That indicates that it's getting AC power. So, there are some precautions that I hope you've taken note of. Complete isolation between the AC utility on the upper black box there with the surge suppressor in it, that grayish white box with 6 outlets, and then down below the generator box. You can actually read the signs I put there for myself. Complete isolation. You switch the switches off. You don't want to plug anything into or unplug anything from a live outlet because that can produce electrical surges. So with that, I'll sign off. I hope you've got the gist of what I'm doing here. I have complete isolation there for a reason. It reduces to absolute zero the chance of any backfeed occurring into the AC utility from my generator. That is not only unwise and unsafe, but I believe it also violates the National Electrical Code. Until next time, so long.